We are back. Rascal Jesters versus AXIZ. Sengoku have done it. They've picked up the win. It's Rascal Jesters' turn to take this one home. As you said, AXIZ could maybe play a bit of spoiler. If they are to do it, do you think it's through the bot lane?
Kind of has to. Hey, actually, no. I take that back. I believe in Totu supremacy. I probably shouldn't, but I do. I think Totu's a really fun. I've been a big fan of AXIZ's top lanes. I know they're losing also a lot because of the top lanes, but it's really fun watching Yellow Yoshi and Totu with all their pocket picks coming through. So I would like to see another pocket pick come through, because why not, right? AXIZ, same boat as V3. They've eliminated. You're playing spoiler here. So maybe Totu can pull something out, but if not, yeah, it's got to be Sanctuary. It's got to be Sanctuary show. AXIZ has looked best when they play through their bot side, and Sanctuary has rewarded them a lot of times rewarded their faith, in him with a lot of kills, a lot of damage here. And so if AXIZ really want to win, then throw resources into that bot lane.
Yeah, and when I think about Sanctuary, I always go back to like, what was it, day 2 maybe, where he played Zeri. And it was a pop-off. Like, it was actually one of the most disgusting Zeri games I'd seen up to that point. And I was like, yo, okay, this guy is for real. Like, he is making movements. But immediately, I've looked at, you did a lot of numbers, right? And I looked at some of your numbers. I don't think we're seeing Zeri ever again.
No, not for either of these teams. I mean, we talk about Sanctuary Zeri being scary, but Rascal Jester's bot lane, Soul and Secret, have been one of the best bot lane duos here in the LJL in 2022. And Soul is no slouch either. He's an absolute monster in the Zeri too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, 5 AD carry bans being thrown in this particular game. Zeri, Jinx, Aphelios, Caitlyn, and then right now Xayah or Kai'Sa seem to be in ascendance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one thrown, because I do think a lot of this game will come down to just these two bot laners going at it, especially if the game runs long like the last one did.
I'm kind of down for that, to be honest. Like, you know what? Let's push it one step further. Let's just have 10 ADC bans. Let's play some stuff that we're not playing at the moment. Like, I want to see some crazy stuff. Like, but
Veigar AD carry, Syndra AD
carry. True. It would probably end up going back to AP before you pick things like. I'm trying to think of ADCs that are not really played now. I guess Sivir hasn't been played in a while.
Yeah.
But
Ash,
maybe even Quinn.
Yeah, Quinn. Yeah, I think we hit APs before we go to Quinn there, but yeah, Sivir definitely. I mean, I've seen some Sivir played. Samira, why not? I mean, I think she's strong. Varus got buffed as well. I mean, a whole bunch of AD carries did get buffed. Or hey, let's pull a little bit of CBLOL flavor and pull that Draven into the bot side. I know Totu's played at top side, didn't work out, but bot lane you got support.
Yeah, not too happy with the Draven top. Won't lie, would much prefer it into the bot lane.
I liked it.
Looking at some of the other picks for Totu, I love the Sejuani pick. Right, personally, I like the Sejuani pick. I also just like how it is in the team comp. I think it suits really well because there's a lot of melee picks, that come around. Obviously, a lot of engaged supports, all melee. A lot of the junglers that have been early game prioritized, melee. I think Sejuani is super good. It sets up really nicely. And to be honest, I'd be quite happy for Totu to play again.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think it was picked into a Tryndamere, and it actually looked half decent. It actually answered the Tryndamere quite effectively in the lane, so wouldn't hate to see it, Jariel. And for Totu, I just don't know how deep his pool goes at the end of the day, right? He was known as a Draven Akshan 1 or 2 trick here, and he's already surprised us once with the Kennen, again with the Sejuani here, so can you pull out another surprise? I kind of doubt it, so we're probably going to go back to that old champion pool, and they might ban out the Akshan, Draven probably isn't strong enough, so it's probably going to be either Kennen or Sejuani is my bet right now for Totu.
And I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, a tough task to beat, has played really well. Has had some spectacular games across this season, and also pretty wide champion pool themselves. But if we look at some of the more narrow champion pools, or at least more zoned in, I'd say not necessarily narrow, we have to look at the jungle. Hachimecha, Swamp, they both played their top pick 7 times, in this game. Hecarim, Volibear. Who do you favor in that matchup?
So for Swamp, I think we should, to be fair, Hecarim right now is, I think, the top prio jungle pick globally. So Swamp playing 7 games of Hecarim, to me, speaks more to just teams letting him get that Hecarim over and over and over again. And If it's open, you take it for Swamp. Besides the Hecarim, though, he's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other unique champions here. So Swamp's jungle pool has actually been wider than the average LJL pool. And it includes picks like the Kindred, like the Sejuani, which could be flexed between top and jungle. So I'm not too worried about Swamp's champion pool. Hachamicha, on the other hand, slightly smaller pool, 7 games of Volibear. And I think Hachamicha's been prioritizing that Volibear almost over that Hecarim even right now. And I kind of like it, because Hachamicha in the early game, when he's got that gank ball rolling here, it really does benefit the lanes. And it's looked best when that Volibear has been paired with Recap's Veigar, and Recap gets off to an early start on that Veigar. Then suddenly the Veigar comes online mid-game. Soul and Secret get to free fire because everybody's too worried about the Event Horizon, the Primordial Burst coming through. And of course, Hachamicha's just running you down with that Volibear. So I think the Volibear does deserve a ban. And if you push Hachamicha off to the secondary champions he plays, the Xinjiao, the Poppy, the Hecarim here, the early game isn't as strong, though the mid game will still be as strong as ever.
Yeah, and I feel like Rascal Jesters have kind of been that team where I've said it a lot this season. Maybe they've started to switch up a little bit more, but from the games I've seen, maybe it's caught them on bad days. It feels like their early game can sometimes be a little bit scrappy, a little bit not together, but their late game, their team fighting has been superb. You know, I see them get to the late game, they 5v5, and it's just like, okay, all right, you're kind of sick. So it's definitely difficult to kind of discredit them. Like, I think that as they get to those later stages, they just look so strong that it's just kind of like, well, okay, fair enough. You know, you're still going to be a good team. You're still going to be deserving of your top seed, and we'll see if they can pick up another win here. Whereas AXIZ, for me, I feel like almost the flip side. I feel like they had really good early games, but they're not necessarily closed out games well.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree with you there. Considering that AXIZ is in 7th place right now, in terms of their goal difference at 15, they're middle of the pack. So their issue hasn't been the early game. It's been later on, past the 20-25 minute mark, which actually surprises me a little bit considering how good Sangchu is as an AD carry. It just feels like they always make that one pivotal mistake, and it usually costs them the Baron. So a bit rough to see from AXIZ, and hopefully, like you mentioned, they do tie it together. And it feels a bit like what we saw in game 1 of today, where we had Sengoku versus V3, and we're saying that, okay, if the game goes long, it'll favor Sengoku. Likewise here, if the game goes long, it should favor Rascal Jesters here. And I think if AXIZ want to address that, they're going to have to pinch the AD carry champion pool, and they're going to need to prioritize getting those scaling AD carries, whether it be Jinx or Aphelios or Zeri, that they leave open for themselves. Maybe give up that Hecarim, give that over to Hachamicha as first pick so that you can secure yourself better scaling in that bot lane.
Yeah, and obviously the bot lane, an important role for both of these teams, as previously mentioned. And I feel like we talk about the ADCs a lot, but you know what? I think it's time to talk about the supports. Secret, talking about champion pools, is wilding out here. You know, absolutely huge. Like, I don't know. Let me count that: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different champions in the support role. Like, that's crazy. Like,
yeah.
There's no way to ban this man out.
The only Renata win as well came on the hands of Secret. So, yeah, I think you don't ban out Secret. You just let Secret do whatever Secret wants, because there's nothing you can do. And Dicey, not so much the same. 7 games on that Nautilus has looked best on that champion here. Dicey could potentially get banned out here. And we've talked a lot about what AXIZ can do in the ban phase to try and push Rascal Jester off their comfort zone. But Rascal Jesters as well, they could potentially target the bot side if they want to play through this here. They don't probably need to ban out too much of that AD carry champion pool. And while Tryndamere has been very, very strong, I think that Ino should be fine running that Tryndamere into Totu. Totu's 1 game of Tryndamere honestly didn't look that amazing.
And I'm also interested if they would like to pick the Renata again. I feel like Nautilus has kind of been the default pick against them. Considering that Dicey plays a lot of Nautilus, maybe it's just kind of a 2-bird, 1-stone angle. Ban out the Nautilus, open up the potential for that Renata to come through on your team. And I kind of like that, because you know what? We talked about this before we were on air, and we were both saying that Renata has almost felt a little bit underwhelming. But is that because maybe teams have kind of had to play into tough matchups, as we said, Nautilus being matched into her a lot? Or is it, do you think that maybe the champion is just a bit weak, or is it that actually teams are not utilizing it fully?
a little bit of column C, a little bit of column B here, Jerio. I don't think the teams are comfortable with Renata yet. And the other problem is I don't think Renata's playstyle matches a lot of what these teams want to do. She's great at playing into or letting teams play into her where she can use that hostile takeover to greatest effect, because if we are using it offensively, it's so slow right now that teams just walk away. And the other thing is that you pick Renata, to me, to win your lane. She's got a lot of lane strength and you want to play it with an aggressive lane. So with the sort of current meta we have with Jinx, Zeri, Aphelios, they're not the AD carries that come to mind. More things like Samira, Draven, things that put themselves in very risky positions to get kills. Maybe even the Kai'Sa might work as well. So honestly, I don't think Renata is amazing as a pick, especially for the side of Rascal Jester. If anything, honestly, dicey pick it. I want to see Sangshu go with the Samira that he's had some pop-off games on as well. And that, to me, would be a better combo than something like the Jinx-Renata combo.
Yeah. Does the Q count as a knock-up? Or is it...
Yes. So there's a stun portion, and the pull is considered a knock-up as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, that could be a pretty naughty combo then. That would be interesting to see. I would definitely like to see some of that. As we obviously have to talk about mid lane as well. You know, we've talked about all the other lanes. We have to recap it up. You know, Megamin as well. Ryze, for the side of Megamin, a pretty popular champion, also played a lot of Vex versus the Veigar, Ahri. Very different pools, not really overlapping too much.
Yeah, and for Megamin, I still don't really know what Megamin is good at. We've seen, yeah, like you mentioned, Ryze, a lot of Ryze, a lot of Ahri, a lot of Vex. And to be honest, I've not been particularly impressed with any of those champions. If anything, the Lulu from Megamin probably impressed me a little bit more if you're trying to play towards Sangshu here. So I'm still waiting for Megamin to really impress me. Whereas Recap on the other side, Veigar has been such a strong pick for Recap that I feel like it almost necessitates a ban right off the bat.
Well, we'll see if they do go for those bans. We're going to get into the draft right now, and we can see immediately Volibear and Ahri taken off the board. Tryndamere Hecarim from Rascal Jester, so no top junglers are going to be played at this game, and there you go, your Veigar that you talked about.
Yeah, and not a single AG carry ban coming through whatsoever here, Jerio. I mean, it's worth noting AXIZ is blue side, so they could pick up that Jinx or Zeri. Well, Zeri got banned, so they can still pick up the Jinx for themselves here if they want. Instead, first pick Kai'Sa, Jerio. That, it still surprises me when I see the Kai'Sa prioritized over Jinx or Aphelios.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked as well. Maybe they're looking to potentially pivot into the mid lane as well, has been seen around the globe, as we are going to see the Poppy pick up their second played, I believe, Banjamecha, and then the Lee Sin also being hovered.
Okay, I think we got to see a Senna Lee Sin the other day here, and it was Secrets Lee Sin. So if they pick this here, it could be a pivot or it could be a Poppy top for Ino as well. He hasn't played it. No, okay. What am I saying? It's the LJL. They bait us all the time. Xayah coming out, and I do like the Xayah. It's not the Jinx, it's not the Aphelios, but Xayah has been a long time counter of the Kai'Sa. When Kai'Sa dives in, you just Featherstorm Blade Call, and she's going to be left up a creek with no paddle here. So good reactive picks so far from Rascal Jester.
Yeah, and AXIZ trying to just double down on the aggressive play style. Obviously, the Nautilus, we talked about how prominent this pick has been. It's also really good to go with the Kai'Sa. And I'm going to ignore the UV. You know, I don't believe that's a UV. They're just trying to bait me. But
it's not as Kai'Sa. I think it's it's a good aggressive lane that we see a lot of. But it's still going to run into the same problems with this Xayah, where neither of them are going to be able to catch them. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And right away for Rascal Jester as well, when they've got that Poppy Xayah already, you can tell that they might just want to play a scaling team fight composition, which is what they've always excelled at. And for Swamp, though, going with the Viego, he's had a couple of games on it. It hasn't been terrible. And it does pair well with the Kai'Sa, and that you get the burst down, and if Kai'Sa can't finish the job, Viego certainly can and get those resets rolling.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we actually bring up Yellow Yoshi is in this game. It's not Tolton. It's so that definitely puts a bit of a spin on things. Jace, they're going to be picked up for well, on the third pick, potentially going to be going top most likely. Also could potentially go mid, but unlikely, as we are going to see a couple more bans come out. Going to that top side, taking away the Wukong, taking away the Malphite. does Yellow Yoshi being on the AXIZ side change things for you?
Oh yes, yes it does. It makes that Poppy first pick for Rascal Jester make so much sense because it's Yellow Yoshi, the Poppy one trick. Something you have to either ban it or take it yourself. And Yellow Yoshi's pool is vastly different. He has played a lot more tankier champions like that Poppy, aforementioned Poppy, like the Melfight, which did get banned away. And the other pick that he likes to default onto is that Urgot. So I feel like unless he's got something else in his pool here, we might just see him default back to that Urgot to try and handle the chase. Okay, Gragas, that's another tanky style champion. I haven't seen him play it yet, but if you can play a Melfight, you can play a Gragas.
Yeah, Gragas definitely a popular pick. Obviously adds a little bit of AP, which is pretty nice considering how AD focused Viego is. Although we may not get that just yet. It is going to be the Galio locked in. So a little bit of a switch up there, going for those rotations there from Mega Min. And I'm not going to say that I dislike it. I kind of like the Galio pick here.
Yeah, similar to that Lulu, right? A more supportive pick here in that mid lane for Megumin. And with the Kai'Sa as well, being able to set you up for that hero's entrance a lot easier than other AD carries can. So I do like the pickup here. Are they going for the... You know what, Drew? I said I wouldn't be baited by the hovers, but I got baited. Okay, they do lock it in. Galio, Camille, that's an age-old combination there. Hexite Ultimatum into the hero's entrance. Another really solid duo. But it's still all got the same problem. None of it will land on Xayah when she feather storms, and not to mention now Keeper's Verdict for Hachimicha as well. It's just such a strong disengage tool for everything that AXIZ have drafted.
Yeah, and also Steadfast Presence. They've literally picked 5 people with a dash. You know, I'm not sure if Killer Instinct gets interrupted as well by Steadfast Presence, but Hook from Nautilus, Dash from Viego, Galio Justice Punch, and Hookshot from Camille, all blockable from the side of Poppy. So
yeah,
they definitely kind of played into that first pick, which some people try and not do that. You know, some people try and play away from the fact that their dashes can be blocked, but AXIZ said, you know what, we're just going to double down. We're just going to pick more and more dash champs to go into this one. But you know what? It's only one champion. You know, it's only one Steadfast Presence. You can't use it for everything. It's not up all game. And also the same is true for the side of the Featherstorm. You can only dodge a few things at a time, providing the AXIZ don't try and throw everything in the kitchen sink at you at one moment.
But if you don't throw everything in the kitchen sink at the same time, Jamie, the combos don't work. So it feels like AXIZ kind of dropped it a little bit in isolation here for what they want to do, which is all in. That's it. Their individual lane matchups aren't terrible. I think Camille into Jace is a spicy one. I do think it's Jace favorite, as he can just disengage the Camille and he has the range advantage. Galio into Silas. Galio actually wins that quite heavily in the early game. So I want to see AXIZ take advantage of that Galio strength early, because if you don't, Silas will outscale you. And likewise for the bot lane here, as much as Xayah is a counter to Kai'Sa, a lot of that does revolve around the Featherstorm, and Featherstorm's cooldown is incredibly long in the early game here. So there are windows of opportunity, especially with jungle pressure coming through. My eyes for AXIZ after seeing the draft is on Swamp to try and make these things happen pre-6 or at 6, and then at Megumin as well with that ultimate. It's basically about ganking the side lanes, get Yellow Yoshi, get Sangchu ahead.
No, I fully agree. I think bot lane obviously always going to be a big focus when it comes to these two teams, but even more after their draft. I will say there is that aspect of top side as well. Obviously, Jace into Camille does feel like a pretty temperamental matchup, so either way, going over to the lead for either side would mean big problems for the other. But we'll see how they do focus this. I think that the mid lane, at least for AXIZ, seems to be the least likely that you gank. Obviously, there is a lot of setup. You could potentially get Viego ahead, but being able to roam to the top or the bot side definitely seems a little bit more important. I quite like, even though I said, okay, yeah, they've kind of gone for all the dive champs and they're going to have problems against Poppy. I quite like that AXIZ said, you know what, we're going to commit to the start. We're going to play dive and we're going to all play dive. You know, we're all 100% going in together.
Yeah, and we said it last game as well, right? If you're going to make a stupid play together. It's better than one person trying to be smart and then ruining it for everybody else here. So I agree. I do like that idea. And hey, if you can play away from Hachimicha here, I think you'll be fine to do it. Now, I do want to touch on...
playing the place together. They're going to all just go in for this 2v2. Seagull going to take a bit of damage. Sangchu as well. There's a few feathers there at the end going to catch them out.
How rude of them in the middle of me talking as well. No, I mean, I just don't understand why they're fighting that early. But hey, you know what? The point I wanted to make before that was Yellow Yoshi, right? We've not seen him on too much of carry. We've seen him on Urgot, which isn't really a carry. It's sort of just a lane bully. And we've seen him on Gwen, in which he did not perform well that game. So on this Camille right now, my biggest question for AXIZ is revolving around Yellow Yoshi. Can you play carries, or are you sort of just a tank utility style player and that's your only role?
Yeah, no, I don't mean to flame Blitzcrank again, but big question marks here. 51% to 49, and then shows the graph of basically all the time AXIZ being favoured. I don't know about those percentages, but I guess I'm not the supercomputer here. But I do agree with you. It is going to be a bit of a different look for Yellow Yoshi, and to be honest, had a time off, has come back, maybe a new style, new him. It's not the new year, but either way, I kind of like seeing the difference.
I'm going to reserve judgment on whether I'd like to see it after I see how he performs. Because right now, he's already down a wave and a half here. That's not a great look for the Camille that I know is running it already with that Jace here. And the scary part about Jace is that Jace is no longer a champion that only plays for the early game and falls off. With things like Cyrilda's Grudge right now, his scaling is actually really strong as well. So if you give him that early lead, you might never recover that lead.
You know, Arcane buff definitely did big things for Jace, and nice trade there from Yellow Yoshi. Does put a bit of pressure onto Aina, but as you said, the waves are just crashing in. Admittedly, has given us some time, but obviously the wave crashing in does mean that he could collect this up, and the disparity between the CS may not be as big as previously seen. As both the junglers, both they're going to be level 4 around this Scuttle Crab. Are they going to have a 1v1?
Right now, Hachamicha trying to just zone out here. The ward's going to stay, but bot side's where the action's at.
Both supports, they're missing. They're engaged towards there, and Dicey now in a bit of trouble there. The Ignite is ticking. There's Poppy going to pick up the first kill. Swamp now joining in the fight, looking to maybe turn this back around. Galio is making their way down. Megaman, will he be able to get into this fight and have impact? He is not going to be able to close the distance just yet, and actually could have put himself in a bit of a risky scenario here. Going to walk away, taking a lot of damage, but no further kills.
Just getting run down by Soul with auto attacks there. And this is a great start for Rascal Jesters. We were watching the junglers face off here, but it wasn't about that. It was about Dicey and Sanctuary getting, well, a little bit too hypey and dicey, as it were, and just forcing it engage when you didn't need to in a bad position. And look at where they stand here, right? For the side of Rascal Jesters, they are more united, whereas AXIZ was more split up, and Dicey missing the hook. I didn't even see how that started. That was deadly. If Soul had actually managed to land that blade call properly, it could have gone even worse there. But as it stands, it did bait down Megaman. Megaman came all the way down, found nothing for it, and Recap got to just catch up and farm mid lane.
I just love the supports have the same energy. Both flashed, both missed engage. Like it's perfect. It was a perfect chaos, and I love to see it. But back onto this one, Rascal Jester is picking up the early lead. Blitzcrank didn't predict that one. It's a pretty nice way for them to kick off the game, considering that we talked about, okay, sometimes they're a little bit shaky on the start and they do become an absolute monster in the team fighting. It's good to see them finally, having some good success early on.
Yeah, and it's on to Hachamicha, which isn't ideal for Rascal Jesters, but Hachamicha, if this Poppy gets accelerated, it can stop a lot of Swamp's action. And we were saying that for AXIZ, Swamp is going to be the big sort of playmaker for that team here. So it could be critical. It really depends on how the pathing comes through. And for AXIZ, they're probably breathing a bit of a sigh of relief as well, because the fact that it didn't go onto Soul does mean that Sanctuary and Dicey get to extend that period where they're the ones in the lead. And yes, they lost that last fight, but Dicey can continue to play aggressively. If you fall behind as either Nautilus or Leona, it feels really, really bad, because you can only engage, you can't really disengage. And if you're behind, you engage, you die.
Oh, I've never seen that interaction before. That was actually disgusting to watch. The hammer smash away to block the hook shot. Well, color me impressed. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say that Jace, with that hammer creates that zone of control there. And the nice part is that even if you miss the timing, you can do it after Camille lands. And sure, you take damage, but you still push her away and you still create that zone where you have that range advantage. So yeah, I know fast fingers and really strong, good champion for this early part of the game.
And talking about early strong, they're going to be able to get the Hextech Drake first. A pretty nice Drake in isolation overall, but also getting the first Drake, putting you that one step closer to Soul. Obviously, far in the future thought, but Rascal Jester is definitely taking the early game in their stride.
Jerio, it's never too far in the future for Rascal Jester. They play for the late game regardless of their composition here. And yeah, it hardly surprises me that they're going for these early dragon stackings here. And I expect to see them continue maintaining the stranglehold in the bot lane if possible, because they want to play to it anyways, right? And as much as we harp on the fact that Megumin's got Hero's Entrance, Recap can steal that Hero's Entrance as well. So if any party starts moving towards the bot lane, I think everybody's going to be partying down there.
And we all love a 5v5 bot lane party. That is just a classic League of Legends experience. As in this top side, Yellow Yoshi is starting to slip behind in that farm. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but it is starting to become more and more problematic. And it does feel like neither of the junglers are going to be going topside anytime soon. Maybe this Herald play could maybe turn around that favor, though.
Oh, they're pinging it. Swamp's coming up.
And as I say that, they say, you know what, we're not going to listen to what you said. They're going to both join this, and here comes the Keeper's Verdict to knock them away. Beautiful play there from Poppy, flashing forward, getting the knockback and saving Eno.
It's so efficient as well. Hachimecha actually had to flash, by the way, to get in range to do it. But other than that, Hachimecha literally just walks by, swings the hammer, walks away. It's just that clean here. And for AXIZ, it's a huge opportunity cost. They burnt the ultimate from Yellow Yoshi. They burnt both flashes to get in range, and this is why I thought the Poppy pick was so good. And AXIZ, this was my big problem with your draft. You're countering almost every single play with that.
Oh, Secret going straight into the bush with 3 members. Going to be able to walk out alive, though, because Leona and also Team Net coming through as a bit of damage there dropped by Jace. The Herald is going to be the site of the first fight, it does seem, as all 5 are here from both teams. But it's going to be Rascal Jester picking up pretty cleanly. AXIZ deciding it's not in their best interest to take this fight.
Yeah, just Leona doing Leona things. He clips his soap out. What on earth, Recap? Okay, you know,
okay,
he's just he's just clearing it out. He doesn't want that ultimate, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little bit question mark as here we go. It's going to come through for the side of AXIZ, but they're not going to be able to lock down Secret for long enough. They're only going to be able to stay alive once again.
That Hero's Entrance has been real handy in that particular choke point for the side of Rascal Jesters there. I don't know what's in the water today, Jerio, but it feels like the winning team in the early game has been making some interesting decisions. Once for Sengoku Gaming and now Recap for Rascal Jesters here. It's not impacting their overall play. It's just really baffling decision making that I can't justify.
Yeah, it definitely feels like everyone's playing a bit loose. You know, they're kind of just like, yeah, let's make this play. You know, it's fine. It's like it's just a normal, guys. Like it's like, wait, no, hold on, this is a legitimate competitive game, guys. Like you are making some sus decisions, but it's working out for them. You know, like at the end of the day, Sengoku didn't get punished for it. So far, Rascal Jesters haven't got punished for any of their decisions as well, and it is what it is. I guess a win is still a win at the end of the day, but I do agree. You want to be looking good against these teams. I think that the same as what I said for V3 Sengoku, I think that this is about making a statement for us, Jesters, saying, okay, look, we are strong, we're very clinical, and we can easily clean out these games.
Yeah, and for Rascal Jesters specifically as well, it's a statement about their early game, right? We've complained that Rascal Jesters have some of the longest winning game times of any team here, and they need to speed it up when you're winning. It's got to be clean. Take a look at Detonation Focus Me, right? And how quickly they close things out. And their lead here is a good sign. Their rotation, even better. They still have Herald as well on Hachimecha. So they're looking to just flat out break that mid-side turret right away.
Yeah, really nice rotation from Rascal Jester there. We will be able to pick up 4 plates, I believe, which is quite a bit of gold now. They are now up at 1.8k. As a few plates will go over to Sanctuary in that bot side.
1 plate. Kaiser can only take 1 plate. I mean, look at inventory. Serrated Dirk, not that useful against a turret, and double longswords. That's all you've got. So you can't take anything more. And Recap's actually going to TP down to guarantee that they're happy to leave Soul and Secret mid. And to me, that signals that Rascal Jesters want to pick up the pace of the game by breaking that mid lane turret as quick as possible, open up the map a little bit more. And I don't know if their comp is online yet for it. The Silas still needs a bit more time to scale. No Mythic yet, and Soul and Secret likewise. Soul has Featherstorm, which will keep you safe, but you don't have the items that make you a threat yet.
And it seemed a little bit strange from Dicey and Swamp there. They were just kind of walking around, kind of deciding, do we gank this, do we not gank this? And then in the end, just kind of watching the farming action happen as they might now start to rotate down to bot side. Obviously, Dragon is up, so maybe AXIZ look to try and pick up the first Drake for them of this game.
Oh, recap, face planting.
Raise it cap are going to be going pretty low here. The stuns are going down from Leona, but can they turn this one around? Is it all a big bait? They picked up 1 for 1 so far. Jungler for mid laner. I would say that that's pretty worth for Rascal Jester, even though it came off the back of maybe not so great play.
Once again, recap just doing baffling things. You knew they were there. The team was calling and pinging that, hey, they're at the Dragon Pit. We saw them there, and he just decides to walk into it. The good news is that at least they found Swamp, so AXIZ can't go for Dragon here. Hacha is going to be there and actually secure this. So sure, 1 for 1 isn't ideal, but Rascal Jesters still get Dragon, still winning topside as well.
Yeah, the farm lead is growing. The pressure is growing. The gold lead seemingly pretty large as well, but we don't have the stats for that just yet. And yeah, you know, really controlling this one. We talked about how this 1v1 is going to be tough, and it is definitely going the way they're expected. And 2 Dragons now over the Rascal Jesters, pushing them that little bit closer. They are starting to amp up that pressure, and obviously now it kind of forces AXIZ into those team fights around that third Drake.
Yeah, and that's when I'm getting very, very worried for them here, J-Real, because AXIZ so far have been on the back foot for most of these plays. They haven't really been able to pull the trigger, even when they had the setup, like they did around the Herald, like they did around this Dragon as well here. And as it goes later and later, Rascal Jesters are going to look better and better. Oh no, the Mythic's starting to come through, and I know hit his Mythic before Yellow Yoshi did, so Camille's lane is about to go from bad to worse, and Hacha as well with the turbo chem tank is looking to make tracks here. I love the pickup.
I do indeed. The speedy Poppy is the deadliest and truly can pick up some momentum. You know, Fast and Furious can be the name of the little Yordle, as we are seeing a 1v1 on the top side. And we saw, you know, take Yellow Yoshi really low earlier and now forcing him to use that ultimate as well. And, getting a lot of damage with that Shock Blast.
I'm actually not sure that Ino should have knocked him out of the Hextech Ultimatum. I think Yellow Yoshi would have lost if they just stayed in there and kept trading. I mean, look at how healthy he is with that Mythic. Let's not forget, Eclipse not only gives you the shield, there's Omnivamp on that item as well. So yeah, you don't win that 1v1 at all. You're forced out, and Yellow Yoshi has no TP.
No TP, been forced out of lane a few times now, and it is all ticking over as Hanjametra now going to be able to find a pick in the mid jungle side. It's going to be an easy lockdown on the Galio, and I don't know if you caught the numbers there, but absolute huge difference in gold off tower playing.
Yeah, I mean, they just took down the top side, right? And Ino almost took it down before that. Mid lane also down to that last plate, now going to fall as well. Rascal Jesters, we're only 15 minutes in, J-Real, and they are up 4,000 gold, looking in control. Their turrets have hardly been threatened. They lost 1 plate in the bot side, and that was about it. This, you're doing Mega Man dirty like that. I mean, how many seconds is this? He can't move at all.
Oh, the CC combination was disgusting. Oh my days. The stun, then the lockdown from Silas, then Leona. Oh no, that was horrible. I want to know the time. Was that like 5-6 seconds of CC?
That's when we measure the time in terms of a lifespan. It was his entire lifespan right there, J-Real. Forget about seconds. Just and that's Megaman, who's probably one of the tankier members at this point in the game. So that tells you that if AXIZ catches anybody right now, they don't get to play the game. Maybe Sangchu might. Sangchu's got cleanse, but that's about it. And some of those CCs right there were knockups, which you cannot cleanse away.
Yeah, I feel like it almost feels worse that he was tanky, because it's like he was CC'd for so long. Like, I'm tanky and I'm still dying because of the CC chain, and it is just wild. And also, not even necessarily the highest damage members there, you know, wasn't even there to do damage. So if you get caught in front of the Jace, it's not going to be looking good, as we are going to see that play indeed. Swamp going to be locked down, but able to dash away. And obviously not wanting to go into the fog of war there. Secret not going to overextend.
Yeah, I think they're trying to halt their outs as well for this.
Oh, Sangchu, I don't know why you're stepping up without your team into Eno's Secret. That's an easy pick, but now maybe the 2v2 could be turned around. You know, gonna Shock Blast the minion, gets knocked up, and that's a lot of damage from Swamp, but turning around with the hammer, gets the shield off of the item. Gonna be stabbed in the back and will not be able to turn this play around.
But look at what happens on the other side of the map. J-Real, the Herald was taken, and they're looking to crack an inhibitor turret pre-17 minutes here. Normally, we say you don't want to take an inhib pre-19 because at that point, you're just funneling gold in. But Rascal Jesters are looking to try and set new records. What is the current one? 18 minutes and 50-something seconds?
I know that it's 18 something. I'm not fully sure on the exact timing, but wow. Rascal Jester said, you guys don't like our early game, we're going to show you how good we can do it. And it's true, they've been looking just very strong in this game. They've looked very composed. Yes, okay, a couple of weird moments from recap, I'll say it specifically, but all in all, very strong play from Rascal Jesters.
Okay, they're showing us a replay of the bot side. I don't want to see the bot side replay. I want to see the top side replay here. We already know that, unfortunately, Sanctuary just got absolutely obliterated, and the rest of this fight, the minion shock blast happens. So I'm just tracking the top side right now, and then the way they just pushed in constantly, and the fact that Yellow Yoshi couldn't answer whatsoever. It's worth noting that the inhib actually didn't go down. Yellow Yoshi killed the Herald first, and I don't know if that's the right call because now that top side is not funneling in for them. Yellow Yoshi TPing into the back.
Talking about funneling, they're trying to catch them all in one point. As Yellow Yoshi going to be jumping in onto the back line, but the dodge from Soul doesn't let him get locked into the Hexag Ultimatum. They pick up the kill onto Galio, and now Yellow Yoshi in a horrible position here, going to be closed down and locked up, as it is going to be AXIZ having to run away. The third Drake most likely going to be going to Rascal Jesters unless Swamp can maybe get a steal.
And they were so split coming in, J-Real. I just like again, it reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh, pardon me, last game where he just seems disconnected from the rest of the team. It's a great engage from Yellow Yoshi, but if your team doesn't follow up, you just get punished. And they stuck around Secret.
Beautiful dodge on the hook there from Secret, gets the lockdown, and that's going to be an easy pickup onto Dicey. Just Rascal Jester's looking way too powerful. Can they now turn this into more objectives? That mid tier 2 looking pretty juicy.
Yeah, the only objectives left for them to take right now, J-Real, are those turrets. And we get to watch the engage. And I want to highlight, it's not only Yellow Yoshi going in that looks kind of separated from everyone else. It was Megumin following up and no one else coming in. Okay, I guess that's why. Keeper's Verdict just disengaged them completely. And it's that Poppy. You sit that, okay, there's only one Poppy. There's only one Keeper's Verdict. There's only one Steadfast Presence. But that's all they need right now. Hacha Micha looking like the MVP for Rascal Jesters in this game.
It's a disgusting pick. You know, the Poppy is really putting in the work in this game, and it's a tough one for AXIZ. You know, I feel like I praise that they all went for dive, but it's only good if you can get the dive off. You know, in that fight, as you said, only 2 of them are able to even get into the back line. The others knocked away or just held back, and it's kind of why I feel like dashes into Poppy just isn't a good combination.
Agreed, fully agreed. And I'd also make the argument that hey, going in together is good, but you also need to go out together. So if you guys are going to get hit by Keeper's Verdict, try and make sure all 5 of you get disengaged at the same time so that doesn't happen again. You can re-engage after that and the Keeper's Verdict is down. But if you guys get split by the Keeper's Verdict like that, then not so good. Speaking of getting split, though, I know.
No, is in a lot of trouble here. The damage is coming down. Here's the hero's entrance as well. Maybe a little bit overkill from the Galio, but it does get the job done as now Swamp and aggressively towards the Poppy there. I thought that maybe there was going to be a bit of a turnaround, but not just yet. Yeah,
I think Hacha Micha would be comfortable trying to fight Swamp. He's not comfortable fighting Aino because Aino is kind of fed. Second, oh no, actually, had the second highest farm moments ago. And has that mythic completed, is a very strong position here. And because Viego steals all your items as well when he steals your soul, yeah, that's not a fight you want to pick. Great pick from AXIZ, but all you're doing is buying time, right? You can't actually find any objectives here. You can't take a turret. You certainly can't go for Baron. And Rascal Jesters, well, Aino's back up. They are about to go and start pushing once again here. And you called for that T2 turret. I'd like to see them push mid. I'd like to see them threaten that topside inhibitor because we're now past that 20-minute mark here. No longer fastest game. And now if you take an inhibitor, that is good pressure you can use to set up for a Baron take.
Yeah, the Baron take does seem to be on their minds already, starting to remove some of that vision that AXIZ have just put down. And obviously, AXIZ need to keep their eyes on the prize that is Baron. If they do lose that, then it does feel like the game will start to crumble around them. Rascal Jester is also only one dragon away from Soul already, which is coming up in a minute 40.
Okay, J-Real, this is a test for Rascal Jesters right here. If you're a good team, if you're looking to level up, you go and you threaten Baron right now. You set up the vision, you go for a pick, or you just flat out take the Baron if AXIZ don't respond. If you're Rascal Jesters from first split or first half of the split, you're going to wait a minute and 30 seconds for Ocean to come out. You're going to take the Soul, and then you're going to take the Baron, and then you're going to look to close out the game.
Or they might do option 3 and go for this bot lane fight. Although saying that,
I don't know.
They've been able to hide away in a very sneaky play from Yellow Yoshi to get the base off there. But I do agree, Rascal Jesters could have made pressure to the Baron. Obviously, they didn't know that there was 2 in the bot lane. I think if they knew both solo laners were down there, then 100% that is the call. But they're playing it slow. They're playing it calculated. They don't want to give any free ways back in for AXIZ.
They're playing slow. When we use the term they're playing calculated, I don't know what era their calculator is from, because nowadays you play faster than this. You go for that Baron. Instead, they're sieging up the mid lane, and sure, they've got the mirror mana completed for Ino, so the poke from this Jace is very, very much lethal if it lands here. But you can see that the wave clear from AXIZ is no slouch either. Megumin's still able to clear that wave fairly quickly, so the chip is slow going here.
Yeah, slow going indeed. They should be able to pick up this tower very easily, though. They will take that one, and now they can start to rotate towards that Drake. 14 seconds on the clock. Is AXIZ going to be able to mount a surprise attack? Will they be able to turn this one back into their favor? It doesn't feel likely, and Soul is definitely not going to help them out.
Oh, no, Dicey. Oh, got to flash away. Lives for now, and J-Real, this is Soul, so AXIZ has to fight for it. If you give up Soul, you're not going to win any fight after this. We just saw this last game. If you give a team with Poke Soul, Ocean Soul specifically here, you can never match.
Yeah, you cannot match at all. It's going to be a big hill to climb if they don't manage to take this dragon at all. And if AXIZ wants to stay in this game, they need to try and find the fight right now. Dragon is being taken pretty low. 2,000 is going to be smited away. That's the Soul point, and now AXIZ could be in trouble. They've kind of just waited around for their doom, and it's going to be Dicey that pays the prices. Now Hajamecha looking for more. Going to be able to push back Megamin, looking for this kill. It's a pretty easy setup. He's trying to just buy as much time as possible, but it's not going to be very much. And onto the Baron, it seems like they will go.
Yep, dot your I's, cross your T's. You got Soul. Next thing on that checklist is almost always a Baron here. Keeper's Verdict not available, but Swamp, I don't think Swamp can get in anymore here. Will have the smite up in time for it, but without vision, they're not going to risk it. They're going to try and go for mid lane instead. And if they want to take mid lane, they've got to take it and get out real quick here.
Secret already moving over. Admittedly, not going to be able to do too much to stop this one. They will be able to claim that tier 1. Getting a little bit of gold back is going to be pretty nice, but obviously the Baron being picked up for Rascal Jesters, the momentum is all in their favor. Now it feels like this is the time to strike. You've got an inhib down. You've got the tier 3 open for the mid lane as well. So this is going to be a lot of pressure, and I feel like if AXIZ can maybe survive the next 3 minutes, maybe not losing too many structures, they could potentially have a chance to come back into this game, but it feels very unlikely.
I don't know if they really do, J-Real, because even if they do, Elder is going to be up next time, right? And you can see the strength of that Poppy pick. In the beginning of the LJL, it felt like every team was picking the Poppy, whether it be top or in the jungle. And a large part of it, especially in the jungle, was the ability for you to just keep his Verdict, the enemy jungler out, just boot them out and say, hey, you don't even get a chance to smite steal this. So for Rascal Jesters, even if, okay, we don't get a good push on the Baron buff, great, 5 minutes later, we go to Dragon and AXIZ, you still got the same problem. You're still trying to engage into a Poppy. And on an ocean map, we've seen how hard it is to even reach the dragon. Constantly, Rascal Jesters are setting up these death bushes everywhere.
Oh, and they're looking to do the same again. AXIZ haven't learned their lesson so far, although they ward it first. They won't get caught just yet. But now the tier 2 in big trouble. The minions just absolutely crashing down that tower. And that's going to be one they're looking for the second as well. They are just looking to open up this base. And it doesn't feel like there's much response from AXIZ that they can make. As right now, the tower going to be taking a few hits there. They're able to keep it for a little bit longer. And Yellow Yoshi just pushing the mid tier 2.
Yeah, they're trying to base race, but you can't beat a Baroned up team here. Does have TP. Now the base is cracked open here. How much more time can you buy, Dicey?
Oh, that's going to be immediately removed from the game. The knock-up onto Sanctuary will finally hit with the stun against the Wolf Swarm. It's going to be in trouble here as entrance will buy a little bit more time, but another tower going to fall all the same. And is now Yellow Yoshi able to pick up one kill. Maybe they can find this one. It's going pretty well for them so far. Soul going to go pretty low, but he's going to be able to jump over all of that damage. Feather Dance keeping them very much alive. And Eno looking for Yellow Yoshi. A bit more damage will do it. It's just more and more kills are going over to the side of Rascal Jesters. They're going to be able to take this last tower. They have all the power. They're going to be able to finish this one off. How many more kills will they get is really the question. Going forward there, they are looking for more. Sanctuary actually maybe going to try his hero moment here, but Eno says no, slams the hammer down. Dicey, the last one alive, not for long, will finally be gone, and it's going to be the Nexus for Rascal Jesters.
Well, Jeriel, the question was how many more kills can he get? All 5. They aced right before they ended, but it got a little bit closer than it probably should have been towards the end there. And yeah, it did not disappoint. We expected AXIZ versus Rascal Jesters to be more action-packed than V3 versus Sengoku, and that did happen. Rascal Jesters did look better in their win than Sengoku did, though once again, recap in that mid lane. Some troubling moments there, and limit testing, perhaps? I'm not sure what limit they're looking for, but not the cleanest game from the Jesters.
It was... Well, I would say it's kind of a mixed bag, right? I think that they had quite a clean game with a few mistakes added on. You know, like I think that it's pretty clean for them, but obviously not perfect. You know, and obviously that's what they're all aiming for. That's what you want to really show. I will say, I think they look better than Sengoku did. So maybe a good look for playoffs. I don't know if it's necessarily going to change the outcome of the standings, but definitely a good look from them. And I quite liked it, you know, from Rascal Jesters. I feel like them playing a bit more early centric. Obviously, that's how they beat DFM in the first time. I think it kind of suits them a little bit better.
Yeah, and like you said, Jeriel, you know, yes, it looks better than Sengoku, but no, it's not going to change anything because Sengoku won, Rascal Jesters won, and Sengoku still hold the head-to-head, right? Rascal Jesters failed to perform when it mattered. And it's worth noting, too, that Rascal Jesters actually have a winning record against every team, including Detonation Focus Me. The only team that they don't have a winning record against is Sengoku, and that's the only one that matters right now in this particular playoff race. Now, for the side of AXIZ, though, I'm glad to see Yellow Yoshi back in, but my goodness, did he not look comfortable on carries. He got beaten in lane in what he counterpicked. He picked the Camille after they saw the Jace there, and it did not work out. And throughout all those fights as well, the Camille just did not have the impact in the team fights that AXIZ needed. Sangchu still looked good on the Kai'Sa, but Kai'Sa needs time to scale, especially if you're going with that AP build. It's 3-4 items power spike, and if your team can't survive long enough for you to get there, then I don't think you should be first picking that Kai'Sa.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And also on the Yellow Yoshi point, not the best. Admittedly, is that because, you know, it's just so good, though. Like, I think that he played amazing on the Jace. It definitely is another pick to add to their roster, and it's a tough task to answer. You know, it's always going to be a difficult time. But I think Rascal Jesters could be pretty happy with this game overall. I think that they played really well, and they're praying for Burning Core. Basically, they're praying for Burning Core to pick up the win tomorrow. Because if they do, they will stop Sengoku in their tracks, and they will potentially open up that chance for them to take second place. But I think it's all going to be in playoffs. You know, I think that's where we get to see everything. I'm excited for Rascal Jesters. I'm excited for Sengoku. I think playoffs is where it's going to be at, even if it does come through that Rascal Jesters end up third. In the head-to-head, quickly, looking into the future, if Sengoku do play against Rascal Jesters in a best-of-5, who do you think wins?
Oh, that's a real tough one, Jerry. I think if Rascal Jesters continue their rate of improvement right now, they are looking better than Sengoku. But I will say I think Sengoku has a higher skill ceiling. So it really depends on what Sengoku shows up on the day. If it's Sengoku like we just saw them with once kind of running it, then it's going to be probably like a 3-0, 3-1 for Rascal Jesters. But if they show up full force, I think Sengoku's skill ceiling might be able to take it 3-2.
Well, we'll have to see. Hopefully we do get that matchup in playoffs, or maybe some surprises could come through, but we are going to be going off for a break now, and we are going to be saying goodbye to RMC. We'll see you shortly. I will be joined by Echo KO and Oak next, so come back